Our next topic is tobacco, and one of the things I like to start with is going over some of the things that I hear my smoker friends say to me, and this one is what I hear a lot. I smoke, who cares, it only impacts me, leave me alone. That's not really true. A non-smoker in a smoke-filled room for 1 hour is equivalent to smoking 1 cigarette, and a non-smoker in a smoke-filled room all day is equivalent to smoking about 10 cigarettes. So smokers being around non-smokers does impact those that are not smokers, so they need to be aware of that and realize that they are impacting others, especially if they're parents. You want to make sure if you make the choice to be a smoker that you don't have your children around that secondhand smoke. Another thing that you may have heard before is, well, what's so wrong with smoking? My grandma's been smoking for years and she's fine, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot wrong. Actually, there's 599 additives in cigarettes, so basically the additives are ingredients in addition to the tobacco, but that's not the only problem. When you burn them, there's 4,000 chemical compounds. You'll learn, if you haven't already, that when you burn chemicals, they change, and so they create other chemicals, and so 70 of these are listed as carcinogens, which means they are known to cause cancer. So some of these carcinogens would be ammonia, radioactive polonium, arsenic, formaldehyde, acetone, tar, carbon monoxide, and yes, urea, which is found in human and animal urine. Here you can see another picture that shows you some of the other ingredients that are then formed, these chemical compounds that are formed, and some of the other uses for these. So obviously this is not good because, for example, methanol, which is used for rocket fuel, you don't want that in your body. Some other little propaganda that's out there that kind of shows that, they're getting the message out that there is other chemicals in cigarettes that are not good for you. But probably what you hear the most about is nicotine. So what the heck is that? That is the actual chemical that's found in the tobacco plants, and naturally this can be used as a pesticide, so it kills bugs, which is great, but chemically when we put it in the human body, it's a stimulant, speeds everything up, and because it's a stimulant, it has 3 immediate effects. It increases your heart rate, gives you a rush of adrenaline, and increases your brain function. All of these sound wonderful, but not really. They can lead to certain problems, and so when people want to stop smoking, they think, well, if I want to stop, I'll just stop smoking, but that's not as easy as it sounds because nicotine is extremely addictive when it's smoked or chewed. It's harder to quit than heroin or cocaine, and it causes addictions as permanent as alcoholism. So here's what happens. You can see over here, you have the nicotine in your bloodstream, your brain craves it, so you inhale new nicotine, then your brain releases dopamine, you're feeling really good, and then when the nicotine leaves, the crave generates again. So this is a non-stop cycle for someone who is addicted to nicotine. And you could probably talk to them and ask them about how they feel during this cycle, and they can explain some of the feelings that they're having. Many times they're getting irritable, they're getting some anxiety right before they get that other cigarette in them. Which leads me to my next topic, which is smokeless tobacco, which is not a safe alternative, although many people want to try to tell me that it is. I usually say, well, which way do you want to die? Because you're obviously not filling your lungs with smoke, but as you can see this picture up here, this guy has some oral cancers, and that is not good. So what happens here is you have a lot more nicotine entering your body. 2 cans a week is about a pack and a half a day smoker, so a lot of nicotine. And holding an average size dip in your mouth for 30 minutes is the same as smoking 4 cigarettes, so that's kind of crazy. And nicotine is still addictive, whether it's smoked or chewed, so you still can get hooked. And smokeless tobacco users are 5 times more likely to lose all their teeth. They have the highest risk of oral cancers out of anybody out there, mouth, tongue, throat, and when those things happen, that's kind of how it's going to look. Up there you can see in the top corner. And it also contains major dose of cancer-causing chemicals such as nitrosamine, which is 10 times more than in cigarettes. So you may not get all the same chemicals, but you're still getting some major carcinogens. So now let's look at some long-term health effects of tobacco use. Well, the obvious one is the oral cancers and other oral problems. So any type of tobacco use, whether it's smokeless tobacco or through a cigarette, is going to increase your chances of these oral types of cancers and oral hygiene problems. Next, you can see here some of the major issues: cancer of the mouth, tooth loss, the smoker's palate, which is like this blackening up on the top of your roof of your mouth, gum problems, bad breath, hairy tongue, yellow stained teeth, receding gum lines, leukoplakia, and chipped teeth. Here is a picture of a before or after of a guy that had oral cancer from chewing. And no, he did not age significantly. This was taken, pretty close together. Next is emphysema, and this is a disease that we talked about previously. It's those damaged air sacs where you cannot hold the amount of air or oxygen that you previously held, so you're very wheezy, and it just keeps getting worse and worse until you are hooked to an oxygen tank and basically suffocate yourself. Last I have here is bronchitis and asthma that you induce from smoking. So asthma is these inflamed airways, and you can actually induce asthma by becoming a smoker. Heart disease. It's the smoker's heart that is getting very overworked and enlarged. Again, you're using a stimulant, and so regardless of whether you're smoking it or chewing it, it is increasing your heart rate, which is overworking your heart. Your arteries can become narrowed and hardened. And pretty much any type of cancer that's out there, if you are smoking, you are increasing your chance of basically almost every type of cancer. And you can see here is a short list of cancers that smoking puts you at risk for. Obviously, lung cancer being the #1 issue when we're talking about smoking. And here you can see a healthy set of lungs and smoker's lungs. So when you see that, you kind of can realize pretty soon why you would have cancer cells forming it. We know cancer is abnormal cell growth. Well, that looks pretty abnormal. So some lung cancer information. Approximately 9 out of 10 lung cancer cases are caused by smoking. That's a lot, 90%. It's the second most common cancer, and it's the #1 killer of all cancers. And the reason why is because they can't catch it very easily until it's going to show up in an x-ray, and you already may have symptoms. And so previously, when it was a small tumor, you may not have had a lot of symptoms, so it's kind of hard to catch early. It costs about $9.6 billion a year for the United States to treat this. And symptoms: cough that gets worse, coughing up blood, chest pain, wheezing, and repeated respiratory infections, which many smokers have anyway, so it's kind of hard, again, to catch. And the doctor will do a chest x-ray, but again, this is not always the best way because it may not show up right away. And my smoker friends always like to tell me how it's just their problem and I don't need to worry about it, but that's not true. It is a national epidemic, and we are winning. We do have less smokers than we did in the past, but every year tobacco kills more Americans than World War II, more than AIDS, cocaine, heroin, alcohol, vehicular accidents, homicide, and suicide combined. So we're looking at about 443,000 deaths a year in America. And the problem is government policies protect tobacco companies, not the consumers. So all those 599 ingredients, they're not regulated. They can put in whatever they want. So tell me when you see an ingredient list on a pack of cigarettes, and I'll let you know when those laws have changed. Because as of right now, they don't need to tell you anything that's in them. State government makes money off the sale of every pack of cigarettes. So Pennsylvania, off every single pack of cigarettes, they're making a $2 profit, which goes into the general fund, which the government can use however they want. No, not for education and not for prevention. But then who pays the medical bills for the treatment of all these lung cancer cases? It's not just the people with the cancer. It's you and me. If you have the same insurance as those people, your insurance rates may go up to help cover those costs. And if they don't have insurance, guess what? They do anyway. The government has their own insurance policies, and we are all paying those due to taxes taken out of paychecks to cover those people that have medical assistance type of insurances. But the good news is out there. 8 out of 10 of us don't smoke. And so some tips: leave places where people are smoking. Say no thanks if someone offers you tobacco, and avoid places where people are smoking. And if you do start smoking, stop as soon as possible. And one of the benefits is all the savings that you'll get out of this. The current cost of a pack of cigarette, even for kind of a cheap pack, is about $6. So add that all up. That's $42 a week, $180 a month, $2,160 a year in 4 years. So when you're like a senior or you're like your first year of college, that's $8,000. And then when you're looking at 10 years from now, you're 25, 26, 27, $21,000 you would have already spent. I can think of a lot better things to spend $21,000 on. A lot of money. Okay, so what happens if you started? Well, you need to quit. So if you didn't start, don't start. And if you did start, quit as soon as possible. The longer you smoke and the longer you chew, the harder it's going to be to quit. So how do you quit? You set a date, you tell everybody so that they can help hold you accountable. You anticipate that it's going to be hard. You get rid of all your cigarettes and you talk to your doctor, because there may be some things out there that can help you. So get support, keep busy, stay away from temptation, keep your guard up, reward yourself, and use other methods such as patches, medications. There's nicotine lollipops and all sorts of awesome tools out there. If you go to www.smokefree.gov, you can find more information there, and they can even send you free packs to help you quit.